The following is brought to you by goldseekmint.com. Silver and gold bullion directly from the mint. goldseekmint.com.
Welcome to Cambridge House Live. I'm Vanessa Collette here at the Canadian Investor Conference, Vancouver. I'm joined by Rudi Fronk, President and Chairman of Seabridge Gold. Welcome, Rudi. Great to have you here.
Great to be back, Vanessa.
Now, Rudi, you just announced that drilling was getting started up at KSM. A lot of people don't realize, but this is a really superb time to be exploring, isn't it?
Absolutely, Vanessa. Most of the focus now is on the rising costs. But because exploration has been cut to the bare bones over the past few years, our costs are 20 to 30% lower than they were just a few short years ago.
And you can have your pick of some of the best teams, some of the best people.
The best drilling contractors, the best labs, the best geologists, absolutely.
And what I didn't realize before was that having access to timely assays can really make a big difference in your exploration, right?
You live or die by the drill bit in exploration, and if you're waiting on assays to see what the results are while the drills are still turning, you could be drilling some areas that you shouldn't be drilling. Right now, our experience is we get assays back within 2 weeks of shipping them out.
Yeah, so that helps you a lot in your progress.
No question.
Now, you just released a big resource on the Deep Care project in March. What does it mean for the project?
Deep Care is a huge addition to the KSM project. Right now, KSM is the largest undeveloped gold reserve in the world. We have proven and probable gold reserves of 38 million ounces of gold and 10 billion pounds of copper. Our geologists a couple of years ago set out to try and find better zones that we could exploit, and one of the first zones they found was Deep Care, where we've initially reported a resource of 500 million tons of better than 0.5% copper and almost 0.4 of a gram gold.
And what's the next stage now for Deep Care?
Well, Deep Care, we'll drill it again this year. We're budgeting about 19,000 meters of drilling between Deep Care and another target called Iron Cap. This is all being done at the same time when we're completing the environmental assessment process on KSM.
Right.
We expect a fully approved project this summer, and continue to add through that by adding higher grade material to what we already have as reserves.
Now, how long before the resource that you just released affects the overall economics for KSM?
More work has to be done on that, but
Okay.
looking at the grade alone, it'll have a big positive impact on the overall economics. We're fortunate that as the KSM project is designed today, some of the higher grade material is mined first at the Mitchell Zone. Deep Care will be integrated into the mine plan probably sometime starting year 6 to 10 of adding higher grade material to the overall mine plan.
You have a pretty high return on investment that you're projecting, is that right?
Yes, this is a project that obviously is huge. It's a project that has tremendous economics. A lot of benefits are logistically, we're close to the power grid that's being extended up in Canada. That allows us to buy power for less than 5 cents per kilowatt hour off the grid. We're close to an existing port and we're close to the road network. You put that all together and our all-in cost of production will be about $600 to $700 per ounce based on the pre-feasibility we announced in 2012.
Now, you mentioned that your environmental permitting you're expecting it this summer. We've seen some unexpected rejections like Morrison Lake. What are some of the chances of that happening at KSM?
There's always that risk. However, I think if you approach it properly, that you're going in to earn a social license and do the proper work ahead of time with the First Nations and Treaty Nations and listen to their concerns and make design changes as a result of issues they bring forward, you stand a much better chance.
Absolutely. And once you get that environmental permit, what does it cover?
It covers the basically that the project's been approved from an environmental perspective, that you can then go ahead and get the final permits you need to build and operate.
But most of the time when people get this overall permit, then they tend to get the other ones after as well.
Correctly.
It's pretty
Correct.
much implied. Okay. Is the project possible at current gold prices? I mean, you mentioned the cost of between $600 and $700 an ounce.
Yes, it is. If you look at it relative to the industry today, the senior gold producers are making gold all in at about $1,100 per ounce. This is a project that would generate much lower total costs, and also a project that has a mine life already in excess of 50 years.
You have almost 50 million ounces of reserves. When you were starting Seabridge Gold, did you ever think you would have this much gold proven?
Not in my wildest dreams.
Okay.
We started Seabridge in 1999 when gold was trading at about $260 an ounce. Our original goal was to try and build a company that had 5 million ounces of gold, a $5 share price within a 5-year period, and a $500 gold price. And here we are 15 years later with 45 million ounces of reserves, an $8 share price, and a much higher gold price.
Now, what do you think about $5 billion projects? Do you think they're possible today, at these metal prices?
Yeah, I think the last couple of years, the industry has definitely been challenged in terms of cost overruns. But when you look at the pipelines of the major companies today, they're empty.
Right.
You're going to see a huge fall off in production starting year 2018, 2019. The big companies have no choice but to build big projects to remain big companies. We think that as they go forward, however, they'll be focusing in jurisdictions where social license can be obtained and where you can operate effectively without worrying about creeping expropriation, actual takeover of projects, or local opposition to projects. So Canada's a good place to be.
Absolutely, and Deep Cur is more copper rich. So what's your take on the copper sector?
Well, that's a great question. This has definitely changed the outlook in terms of who we can partner this project with.
Okay.
Up to recently, before we discovered Deep Cur, this project was viewed as a gold-dominated project,
right,
with 60% of the revenues coming from gold. Deep Cur is just the opposite. It's 60 to 70% copper. What that's meant for us is now not just talking to the big gold producers, we're now seeing significant interest from the big base metal companies as potential joint venture partners.
Now, how are you balancing saving cash versus still exploring and advancing the deposit?
That's a discipline that we've kept in place for 15 years now. Our goal is to continue to improve our shareholders' exposure to gold, and we define that by increasing the amount of gold we control on a per share basis. For 14 straight years now, our gold per share ownership has gone up each and every year. I don't think there's a company in the space that can say that.
Claim the same thing. Where does your cash balance currently stand?
We exited Q1 at about $20 million in working capital. That's sufficient to get us through the balance of this year. Like in years past, we will be opportunistic. If we have additional good uses of proceeds, we'll go out and tap the equity markets. We're fortunate that we have a very long-standing, supportive shareholder group that continues to fund us as long as we stay on goal of increasing our gold per common share.
What should investors be watching for in the next 12 months?
I think a lot can happen in the next 12 months. I think we'll start drilling at KSM probably sometime next week. The camp is opened. Rigs should be turning next week. We expect to announce a lot of positive drill results from this year's program. I've never seen our geologists as excited as they are today. Second, I think the announcement of an approved project from the province first, which we're expecting in July, and then shortly thereafter by the federal government will help in terms of unlocking value in the marketplace for this asset base. And last but not least will be a strategic partner coming in to develop this asset with us.
Absolutely. Rudi, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you here.
Great to be here, Vanessa. Thank you.